How's it going, everyone? As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. This is Deck Ready, my channel all about the Steam Deck, and there is a lot of Steam Deck stuff to talk about today. Starting out with, there's a new beta update for the Steam Deck now. It doesn't have a lot, but there's one good feature in it that improves game recording, which is great. Second on the list, you got to see this crossover between the Sony 30th anniversary stuff and the Steam Deck. Third, we allegedly just got the release info about the Switch 2, and I'm going to talk about if that matters, just like I did with the PS handheld in the last video. And last, I'm going to give you some copium to stop believing the Steam Deck 2 lies. This video is sponsored by Grüns. Grüns is more comprehensive and accurately dosed than your current nutrition solution. Grüns contains 100% of your daily vitamins and 25% of minerals that are potentially toxic if you take them too much over an extended period of time. Simply put, 99% of the supplements out there are lazy and use an off-the-shelf formula that can have too much of certain things in it that'll hurt you in the long run. Watch out for daily values above 100%. And Grüns is methylated, which is like smart people talk for saying that vitamins like B12 and folate can actually be absorbed by your body with Grüns. Grüns are a convenient, comprehensive formula packed into 8 gummies a day. Grüns isn't a multivitamin, a probiotic, or a green gummy. It's all of those things packed into one at a fraction of the price, and as a bonus, it tastes great. Each daily snack pack has 8 gummies because you can't fit all these nutrients into just one gummy. And for context, generic multivitamins include 7 to 9 different vitamins, but Grüns has 20 plus and 60 plus whole food ingredients. So when you're ready to try Grüns and get up to 45% off, make sure you scan the QR code on screen or click the link down in the description. Once again, huge shout out to Grüns for sponsoring this video. All right, let's jump into it with this beta update. So it's a small one. Like I mentioned, this is more of a PSA. So if you have the recording feature and you actually use it on your Steam Deck, I don't know why I said it like that. Everyone has it on their Steam Deck, but if you actually use it, you've probably noticed that you can change the location that the videos kind of export and save to. But then if you do that, there's really no way to change it back easily. Well, they thought ahead with this new beta update, and now you can actually just reset it to where it was originally saving the videos to. So it's like a one button fix for a problem before it even became a problem. That's Valve for you. Sometimes they take forever on features, but other times they do these quick little fixes that actually make life easier on the deck. And that's why I love them. Again, it's in beta, but it's a client update for Steam. It's not actually just for the Steam Deck. So I would expect this to kind of roll out into the stable version sooner rather than later. I would say it's definitely not worth upgrading to the beta channel to use. But that brings me to the second news story here, which is an amazing video from Humble Handhelds. My friend Rich over at Fan the Deck shouted this guy out to me, and I watched this entire video because I was so blown away by it. Basically, if you didn't know, right now over in the world of Sony and PlayStation, it's the 30th anniversary of one of my all-time favorite game consoles, and to celebrate, Sony made about 15 different PS5 Pros that are PS1 editions, and they look amazing. There's also a regular PS1, a PlayStation Portal, and a DualSense Edge. I took out Plasma to get this PS1 inspired DualSense Edge just because it is so cool. If you didn't know, the DualSense Edge is my favorite controller to use on PC, even though you have to use it wired. It's just nice because it's heavy, it's hefty, it feels good, and when I use it on PC or Steam Deck, it charges, and then when I want to go use it on my PS5 Pro, I got a good 15 minutes of battery life in it ready to go whenever I need it. That was a joke. The battery life is actually an hour and a half, which is still terrible, but it's a great controller other than the abysmal battery life. But this YouTuber, Humble Handhelds, realized that the Steam Deck is basically the perfect version of the PS1, which I have been fully aware of for a long time now because it's where I play all of my PS1 games all the time, and it's incredible using EmuDeck to emulate these games and upscale them to the full 800p maximum action that the Steam Deck has. If you haven't tried it, it's definitely worth it. And he basically deconstructed the Steam Deck and rebuilt it as a PS1 30th anniversary edition Steam Deck, and even came up with a boot intro that shows the Steam Deck logo and then the PlayStation 1 iconic boot up menu. This thing looks incredible to the point where if Valve wanted to make a really good limited edition console to go toe to toe with their white version they just put out, it would be so sick to see them partner up with Sony and create a 30th anniversary PlayStation inspired Steam Deck. Like I talked about this when the white Steam Deck came out. I have the limited edition one that's black and orange. I don't think you could ever really topped that for me because I'm obsessed with Halloween. It's my favorite day of the year. I love horror movies. I even have a channel called Real Ones that's all about directors and stuff like that. All that horror stuff behind me is from different Halloween movies and everything. But if there was one limited edition Steam Deck I would definitely spring on, it would be a limited edition OLED that looks as good as this. He even got everything right down to the face buttons, having those iconic colors with the cross being blue, the square being pink, the triangle being green, this circle being red. I totally knew that off the top of my head. Just kidding. I'm still holding this controller and the colors are the same on this. If there was one mod to the Steam Deck that I'd love to see, it would be new sticks that emulate these ones. I don't know. This might not focus, but like if it does, basically the DualSense Edge has removable stick caps like every other premium controller out there. And the ones that come with it let you bring it back to the era of the DualShock and get that nice textured rubber half dome sort of stick cap. I like the one that they introduced with the DualShock 4 and then brought forward to the DualSense, but I gamed on PlayStation my entire life and I'm 31 years old. So I missed that original style, like soft rubber texture that they had on the DualShock. I would buy modded sticks that had that texture. It would definitely be tough to create and get to work right because if you didn't know, the sticks on the Steam Deck are actually capacitive. So if you're using gyro in something like Doom 2016 or Doom Eternal, the way you get the gyro to turn on is by putting your thumb over the right thumbstick. But I'm sure someone out there could do it because this guy, Humble Handheld, figured out how to actually just make a PS1 inspired Steam Deck. And I just love it so much. I might even, if I had an extra Steam Deck, I was going to say I might even try to make one myself, but if I had an extra Steam Deck OLED, I might go through the trouble of trying to make one of these myself because it looks so good. But anyway, that brings us to the third news story of today's video, which is if the Switch 2 matters for the Steam Deck. So if you didn't hear, there's reliable leakers out there releasing info that the Switch 2 is right around the corner, and it's coming really fast. Like allegedly, Nintendo's going to announce it in January of 2025, and they'll release it in March of 2025, which lines up pretty well with what people expected because if you didn't know, the original Switch came out to celebrate my birthday in 2017. I know it wasn't actually to celebrate my birthday, but it came out on March 3rd, 2017. So going with March once again for the Switch 2 just kind of makes a lot of sense. They can get away from that whole fall release schedule that's super busy, and around March, no one's really releasing big games. Well, now they kind of do, but like back in the day when the Switch came out, March was pretty free and clear, and then you had the entire summer with no game releases, so it made sense as a good time to release a Nintendo console. And I gotta be honest, I know there's a lot of YouTubers out there who are gonna try and make Steam Deck versus Switch 2 videos, and I just like don't have it in me to kind of try and stretch that out because at this point in time, I'm fully convinced they're going for completely different markets, right? Like the Steam Deck sold well for what it is. I kind of covered this in the last video, right? It's a handheld PC for a super niche audience. And when you keep that in mind, the 3 or so million units that the Steam Deck has sold, that looks extremely good for Valve. And at the end of the day, that's great for them because the big metric that every company is chasing right now is engagement. They want you gaming not only in general, but on their platform. So by making the Steam Deck, Valve increases engagement because if you are on your main gaming PC and you get off of it to go play something in bed or go sit on your couch and you don't have a living room PC, having the Steam Deck right there gives you more of an incentive to continue to buy games on Steam and play on Steam, which is good for them because the more people play on Steam, the more money people are going to spend on Steam, which is their ultimate goal at the end of the day. But the fact is, these things go for completely different audiences. For a lot of the Steam Deck's life cycle, a lot of people have been emulating Switch games through Yuzu and Ryujinx, but Nintendo is going crazy trying to take all those emulators down. And even when they were widely available, I'd say the barrier of entry to get Switch games running on your Steam Deck was a little bit high for most people. Like doing the whole process of dumping your Switch carts to a PC and then putting them in the right folders and getting them to look and run right, dialing in the right settings so that they don't stutter or hold a consistent frame rate. I feel like that's just a lot more effort than the average user is willing to go through. And then even if you wanted to get them through illicit ways, like by pirating them, I mean, the odds of getting put on some list or like downloading an insane virus that leaks your credit card info, your birth certificate, and everything else, I'd say it was extremely high with a lot of the sites that people were pirating Switch games on. So I don't feel like the Steam Deck is really providing a whole lot of competition to the Nintendo Switch. And honestly, I love the Steam Deck. I'm a fan of the Nintendo Switch, not so much anymore because it can't run games, but I also love the Vita and the PSP. I would probably be interested in picking up a Nintendo Switch sequel just to play all the games that I've been collecting on that shelf back there because they don't run right on the Switch. Now that we basically know that the Switch 2 is going to play Switch 1 games, I feel like I'm only going to benefit by waiting to play those games. but I just feel like I've been going through a little bit of a midlife crisis or quarter life crisis, hopefully at 31 lately, where I'm just kind of not feeling the magic anymore from Nintendo. A lot of the games look cool. Like I love Thousand Year Door and everything like that, but like Tears of the Kingdom just felt like more Breath of the Wild to me. And even though I love Breath of the Wild, there's so many other games out right now that I'm more interested in that I'd honestly be more interested in waiting for the Switch 2 Lite or Switch 2 OLED model. And I feel like I really wouldn't lose out that much because at the end of the day, I have the Steam Deck, which can not only play older Nintendo games, but it can also play PS1 and PS2 games, PSP games, and PS3 games pretty reliably on top of all the Steam games that it can natively support. So I'm good. Like I don't have that much time for games, especially compared to what I had in college. And if I'm like having to kind of be hard decision maker about my time, I think the easiest console to get rid of would be the Switch, judging by the fact that I have an OLED sitting next to my TV right there. And the last time I turned it on was when Super Mario Wonder came out. So that's about how much my Switch OLED gets used in this household. And ultimately, when it comes to the Switch 2 or even this eventual PlayStation handheld, I think the big benefit is going to be that AMD is definitely making the chip for the PlayStation handheld. I think Nvidia will probably make the chip for the Switch one just because they made the Switch 1 chip, the Switch 2, not the Switch 1. They're going to make both chips, I would assume. So if Sony's giving AMD a bunch of money to develop a really powerful chip that can be put into a handheld console, they're going to be able to kind of take that knowledge potentially and help Valve kind of make a custom chip that will run in the Steam Deck 2 down the line and however many years it takes for that to come out. So while, yeah, there's going to be a lot of articles talking about the competition between the Sony handheld and the Steam Deck, the Xbox handheld and the Steam Deck, and the Switch 2 and the Steam Deck, I think they're, even though they're both handhelds, I think they're both playing in completely different sandboxes, and I just don't really care about the potential rivalry between any of these devices, if I'm being completely honest. But briefly mentioning the Steam Deck 2, that brings me to the last topic of today's video, which is don't believe the Steam Deck 2 lies. So there's two things that kind of happened over the past couple of months. I covered both of them, and they're leading a lot of people to write articles saying that we could be seeing potential future iterations of the Steam Deck hidden away just really early. The first one of those is that SteamOS has had some stuff baked into the back end to support ARM architecture, which is like the Windows competitor to the M chips that Apple uses, I guess. I know there's a bunch of technical people that are going to yell at me in the comments for that, but like my layman's understanding of what ARM chips are is like what they wanted to put in the original Surface back when Windows 8 came out to maximize compatibility between Windows devices or something like that. And then the other news story is that with the latest Steam Deck beta updates for SteamOS 3.0, they've been baking in support for NVIDIA DLSS 3.0. So like all these articles are saying that it's basically confirming that the Steam Deck 2 is going to either use ARM or NVIDIA architecture. I like, no, it's not happening, guys. Like, guys being the article writers, these writers out there who are just trying to get Steam Deck in the title because it ranks better than, I don't know, Xbox handheld or SteamOS coming to regular PC. I think that's exactly what's happening here. We know that other Steam Deck updates lately have had things like support for the back buttons on the ROG Ally and Ally X, and then Valve came out and confirmed that they are working on getting SteamOS 3.0 up and running on the Ally and Ally X so that it can be compatible with that device. I think that's exactly what they're doing here. The NVIDIA story with DLSS 3.0 being supported by SteamOS 3.0, that very clearly to me shows that they're working on getting SteamOS ready for regular gaming PCs, which is excellent because I have an NVIDIA computer and I know I should have gotten a laptop with an AMD chip and an AMD GPU, but I was stupid at the time and I didn't do that, and I don't want to spend thousands of dollars to build out a desktop rig right now. And then when it comes to the ARM architecture, they're clearly just like front-loading support for whatever devices Microsoft is able to get other manufacturers to make that are going to use ARM chips, right? Like if Xbox is working on a handheld Xbox version, it's going to use an ARM chip versus an AMD one because Microsoft will want to bring that stuff in-house. And from all the rumors we've heard, they're working on it with the Surface team, who builds the devices currently that use ARM chips. So theoretically, the plan would be for Microsoft to release this handheld Xbox that uses an ARM chip, and then they would say, hey, this is a reference device for other manufacturers like Alienware, Asus, and everyone else out there to make their own ARM chip enabled handhelds, and then Valve will be ready to go with SteamOS. And that's awesome. I'm happy about that. But if you're reading these articles and you're getting scared because you just bought a Steam Deck or you're planning on buying one, I think you're going to be good for the foreseeable future, like at least 2 to 3 years, because as Valve has said, and as the Fox talks about on Twitter all the time, the tech just isn't there to make a genuine Steam Deck 2. I'm sure you could take the maxed out Ryzen chip that you put in your PC and put it in a handheld and it would run really good compared to a Steam Deck, but you'd also sacrifice 80 to 90% of the battery life. And Valve has been very clear that they're not doing a Steam Deck 2 unless they can live up to the battery life of the current Steam Deck. And the reality is that's at least a few years out. So if you're worried about this stuff, don't be. I understand why people get mad at this because honestly, it's getting a little bit annoying for me too. These articles are just shameless. Anyway, guys, that's all I've got for you in today's video. As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching and shape on.